Hey, we're Saints. Father Chris here. Welcome to the Crucifixion live stream. Glad to have you beautiful people with us. We are trying something new today. As you see, Deacon Greg is here. We got a whole new setup, and we're going to try something fun and new. We're going to have a conversation today. So glad you're in. Welcome. I want to tell you a story to start this off. It's a real story. It just happened to me this morning, and it honestly, not to be too silly, but it impacted me. So you know that old movie, Pay It Forward, where you do something nice for another person for no particular reason. This morning, as I was coming in, I was getting my coffee, and I wanted to stop for a donut. So I go to the donut shop, and there's a lady in line in front of me, and I'm going to sound like such a judgmental jerk, but she looked like, it might have been that she at one point in her life was homeless. I know that's a judgment. Just don't get on my case, but that's just kind of the perception that she gave. And she turned to me and said, "You want a coupon?" That's what she had, a coupon for a donut. I was like, "You know what, sweetheart? Thank you." I said, "I appreciate you." I said, "You save that. Use it the next time you come." And she goes, "Okay, my boss gives them to me. I have plenty." So I turn around. I had ordered my donut. I asked for a cup of coffee, and they passed it behind the counter to, the lady at the cash register. And so as the gal who offered the coupons turns to leave, I step up to pay, and the cashier says, "You're all taken care of." I'm like, "What?" So I turned. I looked at the girl. I'm like, "E." I just yelled at her, like, "Did you do that?" I'm like, "You don't have to do that." And she said to me the following. She said, "I try to take nice things that have been done to me and do them to others as well. I mean, the pay it forward mentality." And I said to her, "What's your name, dear?" She said her name was Erica. So I don't know that Erica will ever see this or knows who we are, but if you do, you made an impact. Um, and I said, "Erica, God bless you." I said, "I'm going to say a prayer for you." I said, "You're going to end up in a sermon one day, this story," but here we are. So all of that to say, what really struck me as I was walking, like, I told her, "Erica, I do that kind of stuff as much as I can. I try to help people, not just buying donuts, but, always pushing and paying it forward." I said, "But you're the first one that did it to me." And I mean, that's not to say that other people haven't done a million beautiful things to me. I was just in that context of I go up to pay and it's already been taken care of. It was the first time that ever happened to me.
Hmm.
And I was impacted by that. I thought, like, I immediately, I got smart. I wanted to explore my emotions. And as all of our warrior saints know, I'm not an emotional guy. Usually I don't really care about my feelings and all that stuff, but I wanted to explore them and be self-aware. And I'm going to stop yapping with this, but it was interesting to me, Deacon Greg. I noticed that I was like happy.
Hmm.
Um, I felt light. I felt powerful. Like, oh my gosh, how do I go forward? And now, do I pay it forward? What am I going to do next? What's my, part in the story to continue the saga? I felt peaceful. I felt like, and again, you guys know I'm not like this voodoo god as a magician with a magic wand waver, but I felt like somehow God made this whole event happen. You know what I mean? To help steer the course of my day and impact it and whatever. So, I don't know. It just happened. It's hot in my mind. It's fresh.
Mhm.
I thought, let's go for it. Let's talk about it. I know we're in Lent and we should be talking about Lenten things, but I mean, almsgiving, although she, it wasn't necessarily almsgiving what she did, but that whole concept of generosity and giving. And I don't know. There you go. That's what happened.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool, especially the exploration of the emotions that you had
Yeah.
going around it, because it definitely, like, it's almost uncomfortable when someone does something nice like that for you
Yeah, totally.
because you're not expecting it. You don't necessarily think you need it. There's that, like, even that tinge of like, who does she think she is? She's going to do something nice for me. Or maybe that's just me and my fallenness that I get like annoyed by it. But I think it's definitely something that is rare,
Yeah.
but it's definitely part and parcel with what we've been talking about with the fasting last week. I mean, you brought up almsgiving. Is almsgiving just giving to the poor, or is it more of this idea of doing something for someone else?
Yeah.
So if Lent is a period that is refocusing us, then those opportunities become moments that allow us to refocus from self and start focusing
On
on someone else.
Yeah, for sure. Because really, you're right. That's the whole battle, right? That's the battle of the cross. The crucifixion life is the sacrifice of self for the sake of other, the way Christ did in the garden. Yeah, I mean, what you do to other people, maybe that's a really good focus right there, at least for this, whirlwind of a conversation is what do you do in your life that is going to help you focus on doing towards or doing for other people? I mean, we hear that right from the Lord himself, right? Like we pulled out some scripture. I'll just read it for everyone. We have in the Gospel of Luke. We're going to explore chapter 6, right? And
Mhm.
Deacon Greg's got it here. It's kind of like the Lucan version of the Sermon on the Mount, right? So Matthew 5, 6, 7 is often referred to as the Sermon on the Mount. This in Luke is referred to by scholars as the Sermon on the Plain because he was in a level place. All right. So in chapter 6, give to everyone who begs from you, and of him who takes away your goods, do not ask them again. And as you wish that men would do to you, do so to them. Right. So it's the golden rule stuff, right? Like, I mean, what do you want? What would you like? That's what you have to take and give to others. And I don't think, I'll stop here, that it's just about preference. This is what my preference, like, I like this, and I wish someone would buy me the right kind of candy. That's, I like
Mhm.
Reese's instead of Snickers, right? That, not like this kind of what you want, but the respect, the treatment.
Yeah, and I think that the caution that goes into that is that we're not focusing on it in the sense of others doing it back. We just do it for the sake of doing it. And we do it for the sake of, this is a way that I like to be treated because it makes me feel nice. And therefore, I'm going to treat others that way so that they feel nice, not so that someone is going to do something back. But like, I mean, I have two little kids, as you know,
Yeah.
4 and 2. Eleanor is always complaining that her brother's doing X, Y, and Z. And then we catch her doing the same thing back to him.
Yeah.
So it's, for her, it becomes a reference point. Would you like that? Or remember how you didn't like that when that happened? Let's reconfigure how we're acting with our brother so that we understand how interactions with people should go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good image too to use our children, because when they're young like that and as they're learning how to behave as, healthy crucifixional adults, I mean, we have a great image of, very often seeing them conquer and do the right thing, but they also, as they grind through it, we all make, those mistakes.
Right.
And as children, they give us that image that we can look at. It also made us think of the epistle to James, or the epistle of James.
Well, and before we get into James, I think it's important too to see how Luke goes from that 30 and 31 when he gets into 32. And he says, if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them.
Yeah.
The rubber really hits the road when we're faced with those people that either we don't know or that don't like us.
Right.
And then we're in that situation where, am I still going to treat them the way that I would want to be treated just because I am focusing on other?
This is awesome. What you just said made me think, and we throw it out there. It's not about doing good for the sake of a response, i.e. karma, right? Like you said, someone did something nice, you do it back.
Yeah.
It's not even about, I'm going to show that jerk, who doesn't like me, what the right way to do is, a right way to behave is. It's more of simply, you must do the right thing, period. And in the opportunity of doing that to an enemy or someone who doesn't like you, what you've done is show them, but also show yourself that my MO for life is always to do good, regardless, whether it's someone I love or don't love. I don't know if I'm able to eloquate that as powerfully as it hit me in the head the way you said it, but it's like, just, that's what I do. I just do the right thing.
Exactly. And I think that dovetails into the epistle from James and what St. James is doing talking about, like, which I know you're going to talk about in 1 second, but we just do it because we're striving to follow God's commandments. We're striving to follow God's word. And then we become people who just do God's word and
in the good and the bad.
In the good and the bad.
Yeah. And in the fun and the no fun and the enemies and the lovers.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. Yeah.
No matter how uncomfortable it gets.
So, I mean, and that's, like we threw it in, like James just says it, it's, but verse 22, chapter 1, verse 22, we got here, but be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourself. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who observes his natural face in a mirror and goes on and on. Like, the idea here is just, you have to, it's about becoming men and women of action. I see it. I mean, that's,
Mhm.
like you have to hear it, obviously. If there are not preachers, as Paul says in Romans, if there's someone doesn't run out there to preach, then how can someone act and live? So blessed are the sound of the footsteps of those who run to preach. But once you hear, you got to do, baby. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's really where the rubber hits the road, as you said.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, whenever Paul is writing about God's commandments, there's always an action word in there. There's always a verb. There's always something happening that forces you to go into action.
All right. So then how do you tell us? I mean, okay. In a situation like this in the donut shop, how do you, Deacon Greg, see? Give me an example. Like, what do you do? So it forces you into action? Show me one. How do we share that with the world?
I mean, as soon as you get the opportunity, which, okay, they tell you that your food has been taken care of, well, then you turn it around and immediately say, it's easier in a drive-through because they've already ordered,
right.
but you just turn it around and say, okay, great, I've got the person behind me. And you just throw whatever money down that you were going to throw down to begin with.
Yeah.
And, like I said, it's easier in a drive-through because they've already ordered. They can tell you exactly what that cost, et cetera, et cetera. But you're still able to get out there and do something in the immediate thing. Like if it's forcing you into action, everything.
Yeah.
The Gospel of Mark uses that word immediately over and over and over again. And I think that's because it's telling us everything that we're called to do immediately.
Yeah.
Encounters with those Christ-like actions cause an immediate effect.
All right. So here's one that goes hopefully to that point. Something you said just made me think about it. My habit is after I, have dinner or a snack, whatever, I take the plate and put it in the sink.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my wife will get it. Why does she have to get it? I mean, in our house, those responsibilities are hers. I mean, that was just kind of how it fell, and not a sexist, chauvinist thing. It is what it is. But why can't, like, if there's a bunch of dishes in the sink, why can't I just shock her? Because it probably would be shocking her. But just put them in the dishwasher. You know what I mean? Something like this, where it's maybe this is it. It's an anticipation. And it can be simple, I think, really simple and anticipatory tasks to tell someone else, I love you. Maybe that's even what it's all about. I'm doing something that's not necessarily mine to do, but I'm just going to do it because I'm there, and let's do it immediately, right? And like you said, right in the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We've gotten into the habit because she hates loading the dishwasher and I hate washing the actual dishes. So we have negotiated that, like, my job is to load the dishwasher after dinner and then she'll wash the dishes. But in those moments where, she doesn't have time to do all the pots because the kids are doing their thing, or it's bath night and we got to be shuttling around and doing all of that, I end up washing the dishes sometimes. And then she comes out and she's pleasantly surprised, like you said. It becomes that moment of just saying, I love you.
So maybe what if we wrap this convo up today with that idea of, like, maybe throwing it out to our beautiful warrior saints? Like, I was thinking in the drive down, what does it mean to be a warrior saint? And the first part of the phrase warrior, I mean, you're bad, blank, you know what I mean? You're like tough and fierce and you're conquering, all of the sins and the monsters in life. And the saint part of it is what connects us to God and to his word, and living that life, the Christ-like life. The warrior part is the action. The saint part, maybe the learning part of it, and so on. So how does one become a warrior saint? And I'll throw this challenge at you all, and then we'll let you off the hook for the day. What if you spent the balance of Lent? So as you're watching this, there's probably 5 or 6 weeks left of, not 6, right? 5 weeks left of Lent as we move towards Pascha. And what if you spent, in addition to, not instead of, your fast for those who are fasting, what if you spent that time and said that each day I am going to try and to find at least one thing, if you can do more, great, but at least one thing that is unsolicited, benefit, blessing, joy, peace, whatever, inducing on another person, without them asking, without them thinking. It can be small, it can be big, perhaps as you continue down the rest of this path, you spend the rest of the month, you're like, I'm getting bigger and bigger with this. So great, go for it. But what if you spent the rest of Lent saying, I'm going to do at least once a day something nice for someone else? I think you should. Anyways,
I think that's a beautiful thing to say.
Yeah. So they can visit us at Warrior Saints. Check out our Understanding the Bible. As you do this, remember, don't forget Erica, beautiful lady who paid it forward for me today, who led to this beautiful first experimental rambling of the two of us. Hope it was good. Love you. We will be back tomorrow. And as always, keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.